Alright, so today we are going to be talking about Jim Butcher's Skin Game. This was a book. I've been addicted to this series for a while. The series itself, not the author. The author has done a couple other series, and I don't actually like those. But this one, I had originally asked a Barnes & Noble employee, hey, I liked, I think it was the Hitchhiker's Guide series. What would you recommend? And the ones he recommended were Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game and the pilot book, I want to say, of this, the first book in this series, which I had let sit, which I bought that night, and I let sit in storage for a very, very long time. And it wasn't until I started reading audiobooks that I got into this series, because it was at the library, and I've been kind of going around, in the wrong order, like completely, to get through these. This is actually the latest book as far as I can tell. It was really good. I liked it. I love this series. Like I said, I don't particularly care for the author in general, but I do love this series that the author wrote. It's well written. It doesn't have the cliche, everything needs to have sex that all the other series out there seem to have. Every other fiction series for a while that I was reading had a sex scene, and it got annoying. There's one author that I particularly don't mind the sex scenes in, J.D. Robb. She writes the In Death series, and I love that one to death as well. But J.D. Robb is actually Nora Roberts. That's a hardcore romance writer, so she knows how to do the sex scenes, and she knows how to do them tastefully, she knows how to do them well. I've taken a couple notes from her writing myself, but I digress. Back to Jim Butcher and Skin Game. On the cover it says that this series is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starring Philip Marlowe, which I find funny, because what it's actually based on is he had written a few stories and stuff like that, and his writing instructor had told him, hey, this really isn't kind of what they're looking for out there right now. How about you do something like Anita Blake Vampire Hunter and stuff, which I had read a few of those a while back as well. I actually liked that up until it became way too sexualized. I know this is odd for an erotica writer, isn't it? But if I want to read smut, I want to read smut for the sake of smut. I don't want it just put in there crassly. I don't want it just kind of, oh yeah, let's put a sex scene in there just because somebody wants it. I mean, The Bourne Identity, yeah, page 144. I was 13 years old. I loved it, okay? But I'm 30 years old now. It doesn't have the same appeal to me it once did. This says, but Anita the Blake Vampire Hunter was marketed, and the one I saw was book number 3 was the first one I read of that. I don't think I've ever read anything in the proper order, I swear. Like ever, actually. Hitchhiker's Guide, I did read that in order. But I think even going way back to Animorphs, I think I read book 2 first. Well, I may talk about the Animorphs series later, because I really did like those, but they're a little outdated. Same with the Jedi Apprentice series. But I really like that. But back to Anita Blake. It was on the cover of the third one that I got. It said that it was like an X-rated Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I found that hilarious, that they're both comparing themselves to Buffy the Vampire Slayer when this one was actually based on Anita Blake, kind of. And Anita Blake might have been based on Buffy. I actually didn't research it that much. I wasn't that interested, ever. But I was really wanting to get to this book because I'd been reading on Wikipedia about it, and it was just one of the side notes was that Butters gets to carry one of the Swords of Faith this time, and I was like, holy cow, Butters! Waldo Butters is a coroner in this series. I love him a lot. Hoko will never die. That is his catchphrase. And since Harry died a couple books ago, but Harry's back now, but Harry did die. 2 books ago, I believe. 3? Let's see. I think Blood Game he died in, and I think that was 3 books ago. I would have to look it up. It's probably in the front cover here. Let's see. Yeah, he died in Changes. And then after that was Ghost Story, Cold Days, and then this one. Also, there's Side Jobs, which I have read. It's a collection of short stories. Like I said, I'm not reading these in any order at all. I'm actually reading Brief Cases, which is another collection of short stories right now, by the same author, by the same series. I'll post a review on that as soon as I can, or as soon as I get done with it. But this plot is the person he's working for, because he had made a deal before he got killed to serve someone if they gave him the power to help save his daughter. If you've never read this series, by the way, spoilers. And so he had to team up with a fallen angel to rob the bank, the vault of Hades, like Lord of the Underworld, actual god, not god, but deity god. And it was really good. It was well written. It was done incredibly well. I love the secondary plot twist. That was the main plot, but there's a secondary plot that's been going on for the last book or so, and the twist was amazing. I enjoyed that thoroughly. The only downsides I can think of this particular book is a lack of Toot Toot and Bob. Toot Toot's a fairy, if you haven't read this series, and there's been a couple other books where he wasn't there, and they were good, okay, but I enjoy Toot Toot. He's a good comic relief character. And Bob is Bob the Skull. Bob is basically an ethereal spirit bound to I want to say a crystal skull? Some sort of skull. No, it's a human skull, actually. And it's carved out, and it becomes basically a vessel, or a hiding place, because magic has a hard time with daylight. So, Bob the Skull, and Bob is actually with Butters nowadays, and so Bob's actual spirit was powering something, because Butters doesn't have any magical power, really, but Butters has a mind that's much better than Harry's, so Bob is able to power the magical things that Butters is able to construct. It's actually really impressive what Bob is able to do, but there was just a lack of Bob, and Bob is who I wanted to be when I grew up, when I found out about him. Being a spirit, hundreds of years old, of pure intellect, it would be amazing. But, like I said, there was a distinct lack of Bob in this, so that was one downside. Anyway, that's all I'm really going to say about this particular book. I enjoyed it a lot. I'd give it 5 out of 5 stars. I'll post the rest of the series' reviews when I get the chance. I'm not sure I've actually reviewed any of the other ones on this channel, although I've meant to. Remember, life's tough. It's even tougher if you don't know how to get where you're going.